Thanks for joining us today. My name is Seth Brickner. I'm with Impact Learning Systems, and I'll be covering an interesting topic today called Why the Customer Experience Matters More Than Your Product. This webinar runs about 10 minutes, and during that time, I hope to convince you of just how important the role of service is in your company. You may want to grab a pen and paper for a short 4-question quiz I'll ask later. Even in the best economic times, every company looks for a way to stand out from its competition. Today, this matters more than ever. So let's see why the experience that customers have with your company might matter even more than your product. There are 3 areas in which we compete. We can compete on product, we can compete on price, and we can compete in the area of service. There are some pros and cons to competing in each of these areas. Let's look at the pros first. If you're the first to market with your product, then you'll definitely enjoy a competitive advantage. You'll capture market share early. This can help establish your company as pioneers or innovators in your industry. Some customers like to do business with these companies because they feel that these businesses understand and even anticipate their needs as customers. You may also enjoy a technological advantage that makes your product superior to similar products, and this is a really nice advantage if and while you can claim it. When it comes to competing on price, you may enjoy some economies of scale, some relatively low labor or materials costs, or things that will allow you to keep your prices low. And that's great because everybody likes to pay less. You can also differentiate yourself based on service. And you can do that even if you weren't the first to market, even if your product isn't unique, and even if you don't have the least expensive product in your industry. The other really great thing about competing in the area of service is that great service can be learned. Even if your company does not start out competing in this area, you can become recognized as industry leaders by training your staff in the best possible practices of customer service. Now let's take a look at the cons for competing in these areas. When it comes to product, if you were the first to market, you'll have realized either one of 2 things. You've developed a product for which there's little or no demand, or you'll have anticipated a new market, but then other companies will rush to join you, competing for your customers and eroding your market share. Realize that if you had a technological advantage initially, you're going to have to keep upping the ante in your R&D budget as competitors keep investing more to try to compete with you and eventually surpass you. When similar products enter the market, then the competition for customers will drive the price for your product down closer and closer to the cost of production, eroding your profit margin in what we often refer to as the race to the bottom. Now let's examine the cons for competing in the area of service. The thing we want to note here is that there are no cons for competing on service. What we find is that by offering excellent service, we can still differentiate ourselves from our competition, and we can always learn to provide better service until we're recognized as outstanding customer service leaders in our respective industries. If you take a moment now and think about the companies with the best reputation for customer service, I think you'll find that their products are not unique, not necessarily the lowest prices, and that they were not necessarily the first to market with their product or service. So what's making these companies stand out as customer service leaders? What these companies realize is that service is the main area in which companies compete. There is no shortage of product out there, and there really are no shortage of bargains. The opportunities to find goods and services at competitive prices are greater now than they ever have been. The Internet has simplified search and comparison to the point where we don't even have to get out of our seats to compare products, prices, availability, even the reputation of the products and companies with which we're considering doing business. The Internet has, in many ways, leveled the playing field in these areas. What the Internet has not been able to provide is the experience of dealing with a human being. With the abundance of choices available to them, consumers want to feel that they're buying quality products and services, that they're treated courteously and professionally, and that the post-sale support and service that they receive is going to meet their needs. Consumers become convinced of these things through the confidence they hear in an employee's voice, through the smiles on their faces and in their voices, and in the can-do words and actions that are part of the service-oriented attitude. These are the things for which there is no good online substitute, at least not yet. This is what it means to compete in the area of service, and why service needs to be an important focus of any company that hopes to be a serious player in their industry. To illustrate these points, let's take two companies in the same industry. Let's call the first one Company A. Company A sells cell phones and calling plans, and they have a certain price structure that we'll refer to collectively as Price X. For the purpose of this example, we'll call the other company Company B. Company B sells a line of cell phones and calling plans which are almost identical to those of Company A and for virtually the same price. The only area in which the two companies differ is in service. Company A's service is largely automated, while Company B's service combines automation with human customer service. Now, somebody at Company B notes that a customer went over in the minutes that it was allowed by their plan and proactively calls the customer to suggest upgrading their plan. Suggesting the new plan is a win-win situation. Company B will average more revenue on a monthly basis. The customer will be able to budget more accurately for their phone usage, and that customer may even save money in the long run. Now, how would you feel if you were a customer of Company A, you went over in your minutes, and you didn't receive a proactive call from them? Well, if you haven't had this happen to you, let me tell you, I have, and it's not pretty. When you exceed your minutes and start racking up really big charges, you're usually surprised or upset, but very often it's both. You'll likely want to talk to someone about adjusting your bill. Depending on how the cell phone company handles the situation, you may even look for another service provider. The company who is proactive and offers the best possible customer service experience in these situations will gain the most customer loyalty, even if, as we discussed before, their products are not unique, they don't have the lowest prices, and weren't necessarily the first to market with their product or service. Now, we've spent a lot of time talking about service. Let's switch things up for a moment and take a short 4-question quiz about products. Keep track of the number of questions to which you answer yes or no. Here's the first question. Do your customers know what they're buying? By this I mean, do they consider what they buy from you to be just a product, or do they understand that there is service and support behind that product that is included in the price? Do customers know other people who might need your products or services? Consider that your customers are usually part of a demographic, a group of similar people who are either your customers or potential customers, and happy customers are your best source of advertising. Do you have other products or services your customers might also need? These might include service plans, warranties, accessories, or sometimes additional units of the same or original product. And finally, do you plan to have products or services in the future in which your customers might be interested? When you release new products, how do your customers learn about them? Now, here are the questions again. Let's take a look at your answers. Note that if you answered yes to any of the 4 questions, then you've made a case for the importance of providing great service at your company. The customer service experience will play a major role in helping people understand what they're buying, advertising your business through word of mouth to other potential customers, making it easier to cross-sell other products or upsell additional quantities of your product or service to your existing customers, and set the best possible stage for the sale of future products to your customer base. Let's wrap up and recap what we've talked about. The areas in which we can compete are in product, price, and service. Because products and prices are so competitive, service is the main area in which we need to compete. And finally, the customer experience is key in promoting your products and services. That's it for this webinar. I hope you found this interesting, and if this information was valuable to you, please be sure to explore the other resources that we've published here and on impactlearning.com. Thanks so much for joining us.